Welcome to Cordkillers, The Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, donde está la good stuff?
Oh, if you've read the New York Times this week, you know it's inside the hydrofoil suits of everybody swimming in the Olympics. Breaking news, people. People pee in pools.
Wait, was it the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal? I think it was the Wall Street Journal.
It actually was probably the WSJ. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, and to my way of thinking, it would have been, I would have not even blinked if the New York Times ran it, but it was surprising to see it in the Wall Street Journal.
Well, quick side jag, I've done 2 triathlons, and in those you're swimming in open waters, right? And it's like, spoiler alert, beings pee in the sea. It's like
celebrities, they're just like us.
News.
Yeah. As I was telling you, the part that did catch my eye is when they talked that better ventilated suits meant that the pee didn't stay in, and that was considered another side benefit of the better ventilated swimsuits.
Right, because otherwise you'd be carrying baggage. What is it? I believe this is about another beverage, but a pint's a pound the world round. So it's like that's an extra pound you're carrying.
Yeah,
it goes away.
Exactly. You want that to be thrust, not weight. You know,
you want it to be rocket fuel.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the supply run.
Yeah.
Supply run.
The rights for the NBA, the National Basketball Association, are the second biggest prize in televised sports. NBA arguably more popular than the NFL worldwide, but the NFL just makes bank. So you can argue which sport's better or more popular, but you can't argue the NFL doesn't make all the money. But the NBA makes a lot of money. So previously, the rights to air the NBA in the United States were split up by NBC, ESPN, and Warner Brothers Discovery, with Warner's TNT being somewhat synonymous with watching the NBA. I don't even think they had the most games, but it's what people thought about it. That's where Charles Barkley was. That felt like the NBA, and Warner just lost its NBA television rights.
Okay, now when you say lost, like they can no longer...
They can't find them. They've looked everywhere. In the couch cushions, in the car. No.
And what can't they do now?
Yeah, the NBA administers national gaming rights. Not local gaming rights go to the regional sports networks, which we've talked about in other stories, but national rights are administered by the NBA. And so Warner can't broadcast NBA games without a deal, and they don't have a deal. The new deal runs from 2025 through 2037. 2025 through 2037. Oh, sorry, that's not right. 2025, 2026 through 2035. 2036. It's because the NBA starts in the fall and ends in the spring. You get these double years, basically from 2025 through midway through 2036. Also, they packaged in the WNBA rights as part of this. Those will run through 2036, but won't start until 2026. ESPN got a new deal, and they will continue to be the primary owner along with ABC. ABC Sports has been the home of the NBA Finals for all 11 years of the previous deal, and will continue to be the home of the NBA Finals for all 11 years of this new deal. They will get one of the conference finals for 10 of the 11 seasons of this deal. Interestingly, the conference finals are split up between Amazon and NBC, because Amazon basically took Warner's rights. So Disney, which is ESPN and ABC, gets 18 games from the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. It gets 5 of the 11 years of the WNBA finals, And ESPN's games will be allowed to be carried on the direct-to-consumer ESPN streaming platform, as well as some games showing on Disney Plus internationally. And ABC will air games in prime time on Saturday. So ESPN's got the great deal. It's always had a great deal. The only thing it loses is one conference final 1 year of the 11-year deal. NBC gets rights to 100 regular season games, 50 of which will be exclusive to Peacock. That's new, including national Monday night doubleheader games. It will air one of the conference finals for 6 of the 11 years and get 28 games from the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. And Amazon is the total newbie here. Amazon gets 66 regular season NBA games, 30 regular season WNBA games for Prime Video. Amazon gets one of the conference finals for 6 of the 11 years. So if you're keeping track, ESPN has it has finals for all 11 years of the deals except one. There will be 1 year where Amazon and NBC each have a conference final. Amazon also gets approximately a third of the first 2 rounds each year. Warner Brothers Discovery, Brian, you were asking what they get. They get to sue. They're going to sue the NBA. Warner says that its current deal, and his current deal does, this is not at issue, the current deal gives Warner the right to match any offer for future deals. And Warner's arguing that its offer matched Amazon's. And so the deal should not have gone to Amazon. The deal should have gone to Warner. The NBA says its deal did not match Amazon. And here's why. Because Amazon Prime Video reaches more people than Max. So the Warner deal was the same in every way except the number of people who would watch, because fewer people get Max than Prime Video.
Okay, so there are 3 vectors. One is non-negotiable. That is the fact that one half-life of this program ago, i.e. 7 years back, we were talking about there's going to be very interesting questions in the future when it comes to divvying up sports live rights once all of the intractable contracts begin to expire and everybody starts to renegotiate. That one, I'm giving us a big old check mark.
Yeah.
We're great. Congratulations, you're watching.
And all of these have streaming rights. ESPN's direct-to-consumer is going to have streaming. Peacock gets streaming, and even some exclusive Peacock games. And, of course, Amazon is all streaming.
Now, in the video game of the chat that we're having, I'm going to present you with a decision thread. Which is more interesting to you? The fact that we can discuss the fact that the reason people wanted to lock in certain sets of games with their network was a branding exercise so that everybody knew if you wanted to see NBA, it was on TNT, and they hammered that home or whatever. And question we could discuss is, how much power does that have now? Or would we like to talk in the middle of this Olympic season whether or not the new question should be, what is the next sport people should be worried about? Because I believe very few stories bring up the WNBA out of nothing. However, the WNBA is a player now more than it's ever been in my entire lifetime. Like sitting at Backspin Sports Bar and Grill in the middle of Olympic season, there were games that Justin and I didn't even know what they were. And we had to squint and look. And he's like, this game is great. What is it? And I said, it's rugby. ... And then I was like, oh,
I thought you were talking about the WNBA. You mean you were watching the Olympics at the sports bar? Got it.
No, we were. We were somehow seeing rugby with women indoor and so on. So the question is, in the spirit of, do you try to move to where the puck is going to be, or do you try to chase the puck? It feels like a lot of this suing each other about like, no, we're synonymous with NBA, that stuff. That feels like chasing the puck. Whereas weirder and weirder sports are becoming more and more popular where should the intentions, the interests, the investments, and the money be for these players? Answer either question, is your choice. This is I'm the dungeon master in this scenario.
I forgot what the other question was. So I'll just go with the most recent one. Okay. I think that the NBA is big enough that it doesn't count in your question, right? So because what you're saying is should you waste your resources trying to keep the NBA, Warner, or maybe go after pickleball, maybe go after something else, et cetera, et cetera. I think the NBA, to finish my answer.
Sorry. I thought that was the
NBA. I think the NBA is so big that you're not going to replace it with pickleball and rugby anytime soon. When you get to the mid-tier sports, and as much of a hockey fan as I am, I hate to say it, when you start talking about hockey and you start talking about soccer in the US and you start talking about, sports that are lower, then it becomes a different conversation. It's like, well, if we can't get that, maybe we cobble together some growing sports and we get those rights instead. But the NBA is so big, that's a lot of money to fund Max. And it's a lot of money they're now going to lose.
Well, if this conversation was happening 8 years ago, I would have, past tense, made the claim that it would be worth the investment to spend the money to have the lawsuit so that this sport was more tightly associated with your network. And I guess my new question to you is that a worthwhile investment?
It's not the way you phrased it, but I don't think that's why they're suing. They are not suing for the brand association. They are suing for the money. They are suing because they make bank airing NBA games. They get advertising money out the wazoo. Advertisers not only want to reach the people that watch the NBA games, they want to be associated with the NBA. And so they will pay Warner Brothers in order to have their ad show on the NBA and be associated with it. So Warner doesn't like trying to figure out how to make up the shortfall in income that losing the NBA is going to have.
Got it. So Warner does have standing. They can show damages, and however much they want to invest in this lawsuit, they perceive that they may come out ahead in the total numbers.
Yeah. I don't pretend to know the law in this particular case, but this may be just showing that they're serious, even if they think they're going to lose. Or maybe they think they can win and get some of these rights back, but then the NBA is not going to be like a friendly partner at that point. But maybe it doesn't matter if it's an 11-year deal. I doubt that the NBA is going to want to cut Amazon out, even if Warner does win this. So it could make everybody mad by throwing the entire deal under the bus. It does seem like the NBA has a pretty solid ground of like, yeah, you're paying us this much, but our brand only gets put in front of these amount of people. And yeah, Max will grow because you have the NBA, but there's a limit to how much it's going to grow. And Prime Video's already passed that limit. So if you want to match Amazon's deal, you have to pay us more because there's the worth of exposure that Prime Video is going to give us. Not to mention Prime Video's worldwide. Max is not entirely worldwide. It's kind of worldwide, but not worldwide like Amazon is.
And not unified the way Prime is.
Yeah.
All over the world. Okay. So in that case, we're talking about just one game. But just for fun, let's back out and say it's your call, Tom. You have this budget. You can either spend it on, now we're playing the game of risk, right? You can either spend it by trying to secure what legally you're pretty sure is yours, but there's going to be a lot of attrition in order to prove it in a court of law. It's going to take time and all that stuff. Would your gut tell you to follow this path? Or
no.
That's the crazy Brian stuff that I wanted to talk about.
Scooper Nova Girl says, don't most people sue for money? That's probably what Warner's lawyers are thinking is, I bet we can get them to settle out of court. I bet we can get a payment out of them that'll help defray the cost of losing the NBA. I doubt they expect to win and get the NBA contract, but maybe they can get some money, from the NBA to go away, in which case it's a win. If your lawyers are super confident that you can get that, then yeah, maybe it's worth it because it pays for itself, right?
But it sounds like you're at least flirting with the Brian idea of like, what if you reinvested that same amount of money?
What if you just didn't waste your time on that? Yeah.
What if you just own pickleball right now? You could buy pickleball right now for the same
or do what Apple did. Apple was about to get NFL. It could have gotten the NFL, the biggest prize, and Apple, which has mountains of cash, they could afford whatever the NFL was asking, not a problem, said, no, we want the rights. It's not about the money. We want the rights. We want to show the NFL everywhere. And the NFL wouldn't back down. So Apple said, well, our money's better spent on soccer then. Because to us, being able to say, yes, you can watch the thing you paid for on Apple everywhere is more important than the actual sport itself. And so they basically made that calculation of, let's build soccer up. Let's ride the rising tide. Not that the NFL is declining, but how much bigger can it get? Maybe a little bigger worldwide, but soccer's getting huge in the US. That's a bigger upside. Let's go with that. And that's what they did.
Well, and that's one of the curious artifacts we've been able to watch over the last 16 years is every single sport has figured out that the only losing move is to be wholly owned by a network. From the WWE on down, can you name a single sport that is fully owned by one network?
You mean where one network has all the rights to the license?
Correct.
It's been a while. It's been a while since that was the case. Bowling, I remember back in the day was, but yeah, there's probably a few examples, but none of the majors are that way. No way.
The closest thing I could think of is the partnership that F1 entered with Netflix, where it's like, look, we're going to be highly associated with you and yours. However, we're also going to make you stars. But even then, there was autonomy maintained on both sides of that.
Yeah. I mean, the CFL, Canadian Football League, which I'm a huge fan of, is only on CBS Sports in the US. And prior to that, it was only on ESPN. The Olympics, James B points out, is only on one network in the United States. It's on NBC. That's not true in every country. Some countries split up the rights. That's interesting. There are some other ESPN only sports that are out there. I think somebody Unsafe DB Level says poker.
Well, but even poker, of all the players, Atmosphere TV, the folks who brought us the Chive and Puppy TV and whatever, they just made up their own league. They pretended with these non-stars that they're stars, and all they did was show them playing poker as if it was a high-stakes game. And I see it all the time at your local Applebee's or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, that's kind of what the Olympics is for most viewers.
Yeah.
I know that if you follow competitive diving, that you know who the stars are and that they have World Cups and World Championships. But for most people, the divers are just like, if they competed the last Olympics, maybe I know them. But otherwise, you could be making it all up and I'd have no idea.
And even now, as you watch the Olympics, you're really only looking for one thing. What are the flags? And then who's about to win?
Yeah. Anyway, NBA was a big item to check off the list in the move towards streaming sports. And moving on to Amazon is a big deal. Moving on to Peacock and ESPN's coming. This makes ESPN's coming streaming only service worthwhile for ESPN because they've got the NBA rights. They know they can get a bunch of people to subscribe for that. It is not solving what many people are going to be complaining about, which is but I want to get all the sports. And I used to get all the sports by subscribing to Comcast or Spectrum. Granted, I paid too much, but at least I only had the one thing. And we are moving into a world where you get to choose what services you have, but that means that you might not always get all the sports in your league, even, because they'll be split up across multiple providers.
Yeah.
We promise, however, the Cordkillers will never be split up amongst multiple major networks.
I mean, the money that you guys send us will be split up 3 ways as of this moment.
That is true. That is true.
We'll get the lion's share.
That is not true.
We'll get the Tyrannosaurus's share, because lions and Tyrannosauruses are about the same. And most importantly, the person who makes all of this possible, Amos, will get the alligator share.
You want to stay on the stream, you better make it a big animal. That's all I'm saying.
This is a crocodile share, like that. and albino giant crocodile. You know what? A whale shark's share. That's what he gets.
A whale shark share. But we need that money first before we can even split it up, right? We wouldn't have a mice's share if it weren't for our patrons.
Yeah, it occurs to me that we all get our basic lessons as kids. We learn about the chain of life and the food pyramid and all that stuff, but patrons run on money. Money is like fish food for podcasters. So if you like podcasts, you need to put in fish food, and there's only one place to do it, and that's at patreon.com/Cordkillers. If it'll make you feel better, we'll pinky promise, wink, that we'll spread some of that around.
Indeed. I'm not trying to call you out, but I know which patron I'm talking about. One of you listeners did the thing with the iPad where you didn't choose to tip. Maybe you felt a little bad about it, but you're like, this isn't a tipping situation. They're not bringing my food to me. You saved a couple of bucks. All we're asking is to give us half of that.
Are you talking about Mr. Pink?
No.
Oh. That's the whole opening conversation from Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, you're right. No, I'm just talking about everyone these days who's like, why am I asked to tip at Home Depot when they
No, okay, I'll tell you what. If 20 people become new patrons this week, then me and Tom will re-record the opening of Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
And one of us will portray Mr. Pink.
I even have a Mr. Pink action figure that I will pull out of my closet for that occasion. All right. So.
Oh, sure. No, if it's especially good podcaster, I'll throw in a couple of extra bucks. But this tipping automatically is for the bird.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers. And if he's still talking to us, we'll launch the search party. The con of the comics happened over the weekend. One of the big pieces of news was around Marvel. Robert Downey Jr. has been unveiled as Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And to some people, just as shocking, the Russo brothers have signed on to direct those films. So we will get 2 more Avengers films directed by the Russo brothers. Doomsday is due out May 2026. Secret Wars follows May 2027. And the Fantastic Four got a title, First Steps.
I'm sorry, Tom. There must be something terribly wrong with my in-ear monitors. Maybe I should upgrade if we had a little bit more money from patreon.com/Cordkillers. But I could swear that you just said to me that Robert Downey Jr. was officially announced to play Doctor Doom, the most important pivotal character in the Fantastic Four franchise.
Let me just double check. RJ. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Ronnie James Dio. Oh, no. RDJ. No. I was right the first time. Robert Downey Jr. Yes. He will be playing Doctor Doom.
All right, Tom, how much time you want to give me here?
Listen, it's Fantastic Four. I'm not going to begrudge you a single cent of time. Like, give it to me. Give me your theories. Give me your knowledge. Give me the benefit of your Fantastic Four enthusiasm and experience.
Okay, anybody who has been listening to us for the last 5 years knows that the Fantastic Four has never, ever been done right. And I keep screaming it should be a period piece set in the 1960s, not just the 1960s, the height of the Cold War, alternate reality 1960s with a different set of technologies and all of that beautiful stuff. It should be unironic about taking on the Reds. And I thought that was my contribution, and I've been so happy because it looks like it's going to take place in an alternate reality 1960s where they're at war against the Reds. But I made the mistake of hearing about, I don't know, 4 or 5 sentences, overhearing Justin Robert Young talking to our friend Andrew Main over their 2-hour-long conversation, and I only needed to hear 2 sentences to get the idea of, Tom, this is me stealing from my friends right now. I'm snitch. What if this isn't an alternate reality in 1960? What if this is just the world, and the world just happens to be an alternate 1960s Cold War era alternate technology universe? And what if Robert Downey Jr., the same genetic human being who is the progeny of Howard Stark. Maybe Howard Stark, maybe he isn't Howard Hughes, but Tony Stark in this alternate world is just as brilliant and inventive. You know what Tony Stark did in our universe? He created a protective shell.
Wait a minute. Like a helmet,
and
like a metal helmet.
His body. And you know what? When it came down to civil war, do you know whose side he was on? He was on the side of authoritarianism because he knew what was right, because he is so smart. And later, he was able to create robot versions of all the Iron Men. That was the plot of Iron Man 3. I don't know. Does that sound a little bit like a guy named Victor Von Doom, somebody who's convinced he's smarter than the other guy, somebody who built armor for himself, eventually creating an unending army of copies of himself, all the way down to the point of convincing a 14-year-old child that he was the reincarnation of Victor Von Doom? Wouldn't that be neat if that was a totally different universe? And oh my goodness, doesn't it look like up on the horizon there's going to be a Secret Wars movie? And what if it was one reality of the Marvel Universe versus another reality of the Marvel Universe? That just seems pretty cool to me, says the guy who stole the 3 best ideas heard from Andrew Main and Justin Robert Young.
I think you've done it again.
What is it? What did I do?
I think you have spoiled the reveal news that we will be having shortly about what Fantastic Four, Doomsday, and Secret Wars are about, because that just makes too much sense. Like that all fits. And I know you're borrowing ideas, from our friends, but when they're good, you got to acknowledge it, right?
I'm just like Columbo. I see the pieces, I assemble them, I figure out which ones fit and don't fit.
Wait, now who was the 14-year-old that Tony Stark convinced he was?
Christoph. So no, it wasn't Tony Stark. So in the comic books, Dr. Doom literally dies, and he has a bunch of robots that all pretend they're Dr. Doom. However, people know they're robots. However, there's one who doesn't know they're a robot. It's a 14-year-old kid named Christoph who genuinely believes and who genuinely has the intellect of Victor Von Doom, and who genuinely goes toe-to-toe playing against Reed Richards in this Cold War universe. Look, Tony Stark is an authoritarian. He is smug and convinced that he's smarter than everybody else. I'm describing both Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom.
One more thing.
Okay.
if I may Columbo you. Do you want and do you think, could be two different answers, that this Robert Downey Jr. played Doctor Doom in any way at any point references Iron Man? In any way other than there was a character named Iron Man, but I'm not him.
He will. Here is my prediction. I'm not going to put it in an envelope. My prediction is, if they do this right, this is the beginning of, I don't know, 5-7 movies of essentially an alternate reality, Silver Age comics, original. This is how we get to see the origins of the X-Men within the Disney side of things, not in the post-irony 20th Century Fox Deadpool version of it. We get to see a Silver Age era of comics, and then we can pit all the people we love against all the people we love. And it won't be for, in the comic books, it was like for a whole bunch of power, I'm a universe. But instead, we will have the heartbreaking moment where we know Tony Stark is dead, but kind of want to root for the guy who
Will we have a moment where Rhodey meets Doctor Doom and the helmet comes off and Rhodey says, Tony?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That's okay.
Let me put it this way. I sure hope so.
Okay. All right. That answers both of my questions. Excellent.
Cordkillers@gmail.com. Cordkillers@gmail.com. Cordkillers@gmail.com.
All right. Let's get to the Star Trek announcements out of the con of the comics in descending order by things I think are interesting. Star Trek Strange New World, Star Trek the Stage Musical is being explored.
What?
That's all they said. Like, we're probably not going to do another musical episode of Strange New Worlds, but we might do an actual musical. We're looking into it.
Can I tell you the way I read that in Hollywood code? We already know that there's going to be a show in Disneyland in Anaheim, California, and it's going to be Steve Rogers the musical, or Rogers the musical, and everybody's going to go because they're going to think it's a joke, just like when you go to Tenacious D, you think it's going to be a joke, but instead you're going to have your socks freaking rocked off, and you're going to be blown away. Star Trek is probably, I assume, Hollywood is seeing other people do things and asking, why can't we do the exact same thing?
Where would Paramount put that? Probably Universal Studios.
Paramount has relationships with, is it Busch Gardens or
Kings Island.
Yeah. I mean,
something like that.
They've got places for that.
All right. There was a trailer for Star Trek Section 31, which is a movie coming to Paramount Plus early 2025, based on Michelle Yeoh's character, who was the evil empress in the alternate world, and the counterpart to the captain of the Discovery before Burnham.
Section 31 is basically just Black Ops. Everything.
Section 31 itself is from Deep Space Nine era, Black Ops, Secret Federation.
Everything you would expect Star Trek to be better than doing.
This trailer makes it look more like it's about Emperor Giorgio. So,
okay.
Yeah. Star Trek Starfleet Academy has made 4 great castings that I love, but make me think I might not enjoy the show as much plot-wise. They have added Tig Notaro. Tig Notaro is a national treasure.
Yep.
Every moment Tig Notaro is on screen in Star Trek Discovery, to my way of thinking, is the best moment in Star Trek Discovery. She's amazing. Very happy to see her in Starfleet Academy. Robert Picardo, who played the Doctor on Voyager.
Trivia fact, Robert Picardo's first words out of the womb were, "Please state the nature of the acting emergency."
Acting, not medical.
Yeah, that was the joke I was making, but I'm glad you explained it.
I didn't get it, actually. Sorry. I take things with the Doctor very seriously, but yeah, he played the holographic Doctor, so one assumes there's going to be a holographic Doctor at Starfleet Academy. Jet Reno and the Doctor as series regulars on the newest iteration. So yes, Tig Notaro playing her character from the Discovery. Yes, Robert Picardo playing the Doctor. And Mary Wiseman and Oded Fair will return as guest stars, recurring guest stars, playing their Discovery characters, Tilly and Admiral Vance. I love Tilly. Admiral Vance was a great character. He did a great job. Loved the performance of Oded Fair. As I've mentioned, Tig Notaro can do no wrong. But this means, I guess, it's going to be set in the era of Discovery in the future.
Tom, I have 3 daughters, and all of them grew up playing Pokemon, and I've never felt a closer connection between you and them than just now.
Yeah.
You said a lot of words that clearly meant real things.
But you know Star Trek. Don't pretend like you don't know Star Trek. You just didn't watch Discovery, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just let me simplify it for you, old man. 4 characters from Discovery are showing up in Starfleet Academy, which means it must be set in the future where Discovery ended up.
Now we're talking. That's how you talk to your old man.
Also, here's your whiskey. Go to sleep. I'm sorry, that was my old man, not yours. Star Trek comedy series coming from Tawny Newsome, who plays or voices Beckett, although she played Beckett in Strange New Worlds. And Justin Simeon are developing the show. Justin Simeon did Dear White People. The show will be set in the 25th century. It will follow Federation outsiders serving a gleaming resort planet and who find out their day-to-day exploits are being broadcast to the entire quadrant.
Do you remember, Tom, when we found out that there was going to be a sequel to Battlestar Galactica called Caprica?
Yes.
And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I said some version of, I hope it's something crazy, like a young person in law school. I hope it's Ally McBeal with Cylons.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I never watched it, but you told me that Caprica was boring and then it went away. What if this filled that same empty hole in my heart?
Possible. It's possible. Also, Tawny Newsome being involved makes me think it's Mariner. Makes everybody think it's Mariner. But she's not saying it's Mariner. And we did get a trailer for the final season of Star Trek Lower Decks, and they kept repeating the tease of, this is the end of Star Trek Lower Decks, but it's not the end of the adventures of these characters.
To be honest, like, oh man, I want to go back in time and watch us argue about how they could possibly develop and grow up that series. And I do remember being or feeling like I was right when I said, no, they're all going to grow up and become interesting. But the moment they did the episode with the crossover with Brave New World and they became humans and all that stuff, then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this could just straight up, no changes, just now it's a show.
Federation outsiders. So these are Federation people serving a gleaming resort planet. What if the eventual promotion of our Lower Decks heroes is to be stationed in a Federation outpost on a resort planet? I mean, that would fit, right?
Well, yeah, it's called they're ambassadors. What if they're just ambassadors?
They're ambassadors in security. They're the embassy.
It's the Love Boat. It's Fantasy Island. Like, that's their job for the Federation, is to make sure everything goes pleasantly. Like, who's this? Oh, this is Borg 7228. He always wanted to play Galaga. Well, let's see if we can make that happen.
I got in trouble and I need my Federation representative to come bail me out. You know, it's like going to your embassy when you're on vacation in Singapore or wherever, right? Yeah. Also, that would be Beckett's ideal position, right? She's like, I'll take a promotion as long as I can be on a resort planet. Hell yeah. And Boimler would hate it and get forced there, but be happy because Beckett was there.
Oh my God. Okay, this is all after talk talk that we have to do because all I want to do is speculate who's the Mr. Rourke, who's the tattoo in this situation.
Excellent. Yeah, it's more Fantasy Island than it is Love Boat. That's a good point. And then every starship can be the Love Boat docking at Fantasy Island. We got a trailer for Joker Folie à Deux with Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix. It will be released by Warner Worldwide on October 4th. Did you watch the trailer?
This is the one piece of the pre-work I flat out did not do. Let me make a prediction. Hold on, squints eyes. It looks good.
Perfect. Nailed it. Yeah, it looks like it's in the tradition of Joker, but Joker was a standalone. This is also a standalone, although it's a sequel to Joker, right? Like it's carrying on the Joaquin Phoenix story, but it's not trying to connect to any other part of the DC universe.
Awesome.
The 6th and final season of What We Do in the Shadows will premiere on FX October 21st and then stream the next day on Hulu if you're waiting for the actual date on that. And Silo Season 2 got a release date. That will be coming on Friday, November 15th.
Hey, do you remember that time I was hilariously wrong and I said, Tom, I'm terrified that Silo is so good it's going to undercut Fallout. Instead, we live in the best of all universes where Silo is quite good and Fallout is quite good.
They were pointing out on Apple Vision show today that Silo premiered after Severance, but we're getting Silo Season 2 a full month and a half before Season 2 of Severance.
I think that is a timing thing with all of the strikes and all that.
Yeah.
Severance was a casualty of all that.
The Boys is expanding with a prequel series called Vought Rising, starring Jensen Ackles and Aya Cash. If you recognize those actors' names as Soldier Boy and Stormfront, then that will explain why this series will be set in the 1950s in New York.
Great. The Boys, you're always great. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the figure of 1960s.
Yeah. See, you can't get
over here.
That figure more fantastic to you, Brian?
I mean, it's causing a fantastic force deep inside the lower half of my body.
In other Do We Need It prequel news, BBC announced a series called The War Between the Land and the Sea, written by Russell T. Davies and Pete McTighe. That is a spinoff of Doctor Who. It will be basically Unit because it's got Gemma Redgrave playing Kate Lethbridge Stewart, fighting against the Sea Devils, a race of ancient ocean-dwelling creatures who first appeared on Doctor Who in 1972. One assumes the Doctor will make a cameo at least once during the run of this, but this is a companion series. This is not this Doctor-inhabited series, and that will be coming to wherever Doctor Who ends up. There's a lot of scuttlebutt that maybe that Disney Plus deal is not going as well as they thought, but we'll find out more about that in the future. Let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Brian, we can't leave the house for more than 2 hours at a time. Deadpool and Wolverine is 2 hours and 7 minutes. Please tell me why it was so good without spoiling it.
I will. I think I can. Look, I know I have a reputation for spoiling things, but I can spoil part of the experience. We all know that Deadpool does a lot of winks and nods. It breaks the fourth wall. It's based on Bugs Bunny. I was in a full theater of 200 people, and 7 or 8 times during Deadpool and Wolverine, everything was dead silent, and one person burst his face out laughing and started clapping. Of those 8 times, 3 times I was one of them, which means there are 5 jokes that still went over my head.
Uh-huh.
Because
wow.
I would like to think I'm a pretty good student of the MCU, of all of the Marvel Universe, and over the last 16 years with you, following the attempts to bring the one convention to the other. Apparently, there's still even more that I've missed, because the jokes I got, boy, did I get them very hard, and I love them very, very much.
I can't wait to get that one Stray Kids reference. That's a K-pop group that is on the soundtrack, and Ryan Reynolds is friends with them and wanted them in the movie, but schedules didn't work out. So I guarantee there's one in there.
I am certain this could not possibly be a spoiler, but I had a hour-long conversation with Justin today trying to figure out who the protagonist of the movie is. And that was really interesting. It's it gets an enthusiastic thumbs up. Everybody should see it. The countdown begins now, because every second you're not seeing it, you're closer to Brian ruining it for you.
That's true. It's like a ticking time bomb. And people have seen it. $205 million, biggest movie of the year, 8th biggest movie of all time, and the biggest R-rated movie box office ever, beating its own record. The previous R-rated movie box office record holder was 2016's Deadpool. So,
and I will say it is flatly superior than the first two movies combined. It's very good.
One thing I can watch while I'm deciding whether the puppy really needs to go or if I'm just going to clean up when I'm wrong is the Olympics. I've made a biannual, I guess, every 2 years, feature on this show and Frame Rate before it of Tom's experience watching the Olympics with streaming. I remember very well in 2012 when my experience was a VPN and the BBC. Thankfully, not necessary anymore. I'm able to watch everything live online through the Peacock app. No ifs, no questions, no like, but this is a little weird or this is a little different. Everything is there. Because of the time difference, I think Gold Zone is the way to watch the Olympics if you want to watch them live. Mike Tirico does a great job hosting the NBC primetime coverage, but you're going to have seen all of that if you watch stuff live. So that's for like, I want the recap, or I'm saving it till the end of the day. I don't watch live. But if you watch during the day, because France isn't that far behind, so their evening is like middle of the day for us, Gold Zone is brilliant. They got people from NFL's Red Zone who have experience switching quick between things that are live to do up to 40 sports at a time, right? So they are just like taking you to dramatic situations, taking you to medal winning moments, and they're fantastic at it. It is the best way to watch the Olympics. Put on Gold Zone, lean back, and just be like, okay, now I'm watching team handball and I understand why. Now I'm going to judo to see someone win a gold medal. Look, their world has changed. Now we're back to volleyball, where we see if China and the United States are going to make it through to the next round. It's glorious. I've seen almost all the swimming medals that way. I saw the dramatic buildup of whether the U.S. was going to face itself in the fencing gold medal. It's genius. The only thing I'll complain about with Peacock is that the interface for finding individual sports still needs a lot of work. Like if you're like, no, I do want to watch just shooting right now, then you have to dig in and you have to find it. And it's the interface is kind of a mess. But since I've really just been going either Gold Zone or the NBC coverage, those are pretty easy to find.
Did you end up ever playing with that AI voice that we talked about a week or two ago?
I've been using it. I set it up and I don't care that it's AI. The Al Michaels AI generated voice is good. I don't ever really think about it. And the curated list of highlights that they're doing are excellent. Whoever's doing the curation, it's not AI, it's humans picking the things. You pick categories and they're picking what goes in those categories, doing a decent job. So yeah, I've actually watched that every day.
Everybody listening at home, I always like to try to trick Tom. And so sometimes I'll call him and I'll be all like teasing him about who won what. And he always says, "It's too late, Brian. I've seen everything.
Yeah. That's what Gold Zone gets you. This episode brought to you by NBC's Gold Zone. Watch it on Peacock.
No, brought to you by Extras. Dang it. Okay.
Anyway, I'll give NBC an A. I don't even like them anymore, but I'll give them an A for their coverage this time.
I know that this franchise, of all the world wars, the Olympics has always been my favorite. And to hear that they're actually doing it right is awesome.
The other thing is, like, I get up in the morning, I watch it on my phone, right?
Yeah.
And then I get up and I make my coffee and I'm watching the archery face off between China and Korea while I'm getting my coffee. And then I sit down and I launch it on the TV. Minor quibble. I got to wait 15 seconds for a pre-roll ad on the TV before I can really switch. But because I've got the same access on mobile that I have on my TV, it's not a big deal.
Tom, I am not here. You love this more than I do. However, can't recommend it enough. Go to a sports bar. There's just a billion screens around you. And you're sitting there having like Irish nachos, and then you look up and you're like, who are these attractive women shooting guns at each other? They're airsoft guns. It's Korea versus China.
They're not supposed to be shooting each other, are they? This is dramatic.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
This is the difference between an E and an I.
Yes,
on the Myers-Briggs scale.
As an extrovert, let me assure you, chef's kiss, amazing experience.
Fantastic. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, please email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Meanwhile, Brian, I know you've got things in the works and they're working out. What are the things that are working out for you, and when can people make them work for them?
Okay, so short heads up. If you are in Las Vegas anytime for the next 2 weeks, there's a couple of conventions. There's the world's biggest, or the nation's biggest magic convention, Magic Live. I'm going to be there for the entire thing. And there's the world's biggest hacker convention, DEF CON. I'm going to be there for the entire thing. I'm going to be highly available, hanging out for 11 days straight. I just booked my flights. I just want to hang out with you. However, I'm toying with the idea, and this is one, you can write me an email at cordkillers@gmail.com. It'll get read. But Tom, I'm thinking about opening up office hours to just talk using Calendly. You ever use Calendly?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't care what you want to talk about. You want to show me a magic trick you're working on and get advice on it. You want to pitch me a startup. You want to talk to me about marketing and best practices. You want to argue with me with my opinion and tell me how Tom's right.
Don't do that.
I'm thinking about just opening up office hours on Calendly. If you think that would be a fun idea, hit us up, cordkillers@gmail.com. I'll make sure that you get the link as soon as we set that up.
That sounds lovely. Let's scan the horizon.
For what?
Send a scanning to abort.
Scanning the horizon!
Brian, I'm just going to roll through these. I'm going to lightning round. I'm just going to speed run these. All right.
It's a new Olympic event. Ladies and gentlemen, from the United States of America, it's Tom Merritt in the fastest scanning the horizon you've ever seen yet. In 3, 2, 1, and...
MLB Network is a cable TV channel of just Major League Baseball coverage operated by Major League Baseball, mostly highlight shows, occasional games, odd baseball movie or documentary. Now available directly to consumers. You don't need cable, $6 a month. And if you subscribe to the full MLB Get Every Team Out of Market package, you get it too for the rest of the season.
So a very strong start. Let's see how he goes from here.
A couple of streaming video updates for you. Prime Video's UI got to change. The navigation bar now has the general categories home, movies, TV shows, sports, and live TV on the left, and to the right, a tab, What's in Your Prime Membership, separated from any add-ons you might have paid for, like Paramount Plus and Crunchyroll. Then there's a separate section for adding new subscriptions.
2 for 2, and he keeps on going.
9 to 5 Google published images, it says, are of an upcoming Google streaming box called, for now, Google TV Streamer. It has a slanted top and a separate remote. Expect to hear details about it at the August 13th Pixel event.
We could be about to witness history in the making.
Disney Plus's bundle with Max became available Thursday, July 25th. You can get Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max for $16.99 a month with ads or $29.99 a month without. You still log into each service separately. The industry buzzword for this is synthetic bundle versus a hard bundle like Max did with Discovery Plus when it added it to Max's app.
It's about to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
NBC Universal announced that Peacock lost 500,000 subscribers last quarter, dropping from 33.5 million to 33 million. Good thing it has the Olympics.
Oh, what a cliffhanger. Can he stick the landing?
League Rocket and Fortnite overseeing was Epic at jobs his elf on. Division Games, it's of President B to development game of President Vice Executive Epics hired Netflix. Oh, I read that one backwards. Sorry.
Whoa, what a stunt. 10, 10, 10, 10. What a stunt. Tom Merritt, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on to the chatter.
You've got mail.
Writes, hook 'em, which I believe means that he, like Brian and I, attended the University of Texas at Austin. Kirk wrote, Brian and Tom, I was a few weeks behind, so apologies for being late this time. In Cordkillers 506, you said that Apple created key plays for their sports catch-up feature. YouTube TV has had key plays as part of their catch-up feature for several years. Apple not only copied the capability and touted it as the greatest thing ever, they literally copied the exact name. That said, it's been a great feature at YouTube TV for several years, so I'm happy that it's finally available on Apple TV. Also, Brian's story of Django growling but loving on you made me smile in my seat as I was flying home from a meeting. Hook 'em, Kirk, Plan 2, 89.
Okay, going in reverse order. Plan 2 is a secret code word. It's like the Skull and Bones Society. There's a very, very small group of people who are accepted every year at the University of Texas at Austin. They have like 150 people that out of thousands of applicants. The one rule is they have to, the first 2 years, you take the classes they tell you to take. The last 2 years, you take whatever you want, but you have to have a senior thesis. Most undergraduate programs don't have a senior thesis. This will come back later, but I salute to you, Kirk, a fellow Plan 2 member.
Very nice. Very nice. I was in grad school, so I didn't even get to take advantage of Plan 2. So I don't get your secret little signs to each other, but I like Kirk's email. And I don't think YouTube was even the first to do this, but it is crazy that Apple just like, key plays, great name. Yeah, you can't trademark that, right? Great. We're going to use that.
That's a very un-Apple thing to do. It's like...
hello, creatures of cord killing, writes Scoopernova Girl. She writes, thank you for turning me on to Gargoyles. I never would have started watching if it wasn't for this show. I was around 6 or 7 when it originally aired on the Disney afternoon block, and I was too scared to watch it. It was too dark for me, and the animation was like X-Men, which I never watched either. I also thought it was just a boys' show, so I went into this full experience completely blind, except that Brian said some actors from Star Trek voiced some of the characters. I was immediately hooked. I miss compelling and smart storytelling, and nothing was ham-fisted. All the information about the characters were explained in the plot, and I was even fooled by the twist betrayal. Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis as I was watching it too. Also, looking up the voice cast, I found out that Ed Asner played Hudson, the old one, and Bill Fagerbaki, who currently plays Patrick Star in SpongeBob, voiced Broadway. Other true voice actors like Jim Cummings, Jeff Bennett, and Frank Welker are also multiple characters. In response to Tom's comments in Aftertalk, I don't believe that this show would be, quote unquote, too woke if it aired today. No, I was saying people would say that, not that it would be. Eliza Mazza is a well-written character. She's not a Mary Sue. She can outsmart and outmaneuver the gunman, but they still physically overpower her, and she needed to be saved by Goliath, who is the true hero of the show. If it was written today, she would be, in my opinion. Looking forward to finishing this series and maybe read some of the comic books. Thanks again, Scoopernova Girl!
Around for the full experience. The full experience is great. I'm going to pay off a setup that I made during the Plan 2 talk. And thank you so much, Scoopernova Girl, for giving it a try. I worked with Ed Asner once.
Did you? Before or after he died?
Before
Okay.
your wife set up the appearance on the Tonight Show where
My wife set that up?
Yep. Yep. That's the true thing. That's the true thing I get to say.
That's amazing. I love that.
We'll talk about the ultimate episode because, of course, it's always the first, ultimate, least, and then last. But we just watched the ultimate episode, and boy, do I have opinions. And boy, do they tie in to both of our emails. Thank you, everybody who writes us at cordkillers@gmail.com.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live at twitch.tv/nightattack Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.